Rev up your engines. Well, if you're thinking about buying a Toyota, but you're afraid now because it looks like their quality is going downhill some, well, guess what? You know, just buy a used one like this lady did. We're going to go through the whole thing and show you everything you should know, things you might not know, and what to worry about and what not to worry about. So starting out, this is a 2011 made in Kentucky, and the most important thing you want to check out is under the hood. This is a 4-cylinder inline, but the most important thing is these letters here, 2ARFE engine. Now you might say, what's in a letter? Well, in this case, there's a heck of a lot in a letter because the earlier ones had oil burners. My grandson's got one. All right, his is a 2007. It burns oil. Now, on the other hand, it still runs perfectly fine. He drives it from Tennessee to visit us in Rhode Island and back all the time. He just brings a little oil and adds it when he needs to. They built the piston rings wrong. They were supposed to replace a bunch of them. Some of them they did, some they didn't. But this is a new designed engine that's probably one of the best engines they ever made. They don't burn oil, they got plenty of power, and they get decent gas mileage. So the first thing, if you're looking at a used Camry, you want to look at that sticker. And if it's got the Z engine in it, my advice is don't buy it unless there's proof that the engine's been replaced or Toyota put new piston rings in them. The new piston rings fixed the problem, but they didn't fix all that many of them. They were supposed to, but they kind of wiggled their way out of a lot of them. Just like with the rotten frames that they had and some of the Tundra and Tacomas, where the frames were made in the United States and they all rotted, where the frames made in Japan didn't. Toyota got millions from the company that made the frames, but they didn't pan it all out to their customers and replace them all. I've got people with them, they're still complaining about their rotten frames. This engine, if you change the oil every 5,000 miles, it's pretty much indestructible. Okay, this is a 2011, and you can see almost all the parts on it are still original because they last so long. We're going to go through the whole thing, but you can see in Kentucky, hey, they did a good job. The paint on this is still in excellent shape, even though it's 14 years old. And even the leather seats are in pretty good shape. You're always going to get a little discoloration. You can dye that if you want, but hey, it's in pretty good shape. Dash is in good shape. It's not sticky or coming apart. And we go to the back seats are in immaculate shape. People probably didn't sit much in it. It's a used car. And of course, they have a huge trunk. You can get a lot of space. A lot of stuff you can fit in these things. And with everyone these days wanting SUVs, a Toyota Camry is a really nice car. It's got the same engine, transmission, frame as a RAV4, but it's not an SUV. So of course, not being up in the air like an SUV gets better gas mileage, better aerodynamics. These things can just run forever. She bought it with 130,000 miles. Hey, that's not much for these things. They can just go and go. I see them regularly go 400,000 or 500,000 miles or more. But as I said, you gotta look at the engine, because if it's one of those engines that burns oil, my advice is look for something else. Unless you're getting a really cheap deal. They'll still probably run for years. You just have to add oil an awful lot. And then as they age, if you don't live in a place like I am here in Tennessee, where they don't do emissions inspecting, you'll find you may end up failing your emissions because the burning oil will wipe out the catalytic converter. Then you'll get the P0420 code. You won't get your car inspected. You'll have to buy another cat. And even if you buy the cat, guess what? It still burns oil, the engine, and the new cat will be destroyed too. So it's another reason to kind of stay away from the ones that burn oil. Now comes the critical part. Look up my giant scan tool. See what shape it's in. And of course we turn the key on, so the idiot lights come on, but it's not running. Turn on the old scan tool. Cold day, but it's still starting out pretty good. Okay, we'll go to diagnostics. We'll do a standalone. Here we go. It's already read the VIN number, and we know by reading the side it's a Kentucky. And it does not have a smart key, which I like. I'd rather have a real key. And we shall do a complete scan. It's going to scan the whole vehicle. Look how fast it can scan it. Even though it's a 2011, it's still going through it pretty quickly. It's only got 2 codes, and they're ABS type codes. Let's see what they are. We got communication codes with the ABS traction control. Now, on a 2011, the traction control isn't all that great on a Toyota anyway, but we'll look a little further. The main code is low or high power supply voltage, which often means that, guess what? The car's battery was bad. We'll check under here, and we can see the battery's 3 years old, so let's check it. Simple test. Negative on negative, positive on positive. Battery capacity. It's a standard battery called cranking amps. And we'll look at the rating. 500 cranking on the side, so we'll lower that a little down to 500. And up one more. We'll do the test. Okay. It suggests to replace the battery. The state of charge is 68 and the state of health is 37%. Well, was that a brilliant guess or not? Often when I see the codes have low battery voltage for one of their systems, it's because the battery's old. And this battery is like 3 years old. They don't make them like they used to. And even though it's working fine, she drove a long way. She drove from Florida here. If the battery had been low and just needed recharging, it would have recharged itself getting it, right? It's just an old battery. And then at some point in time, she'll replace the battery. No big deal, but it's something to warn you about, that if you're looking at a car and you got a scan tool and you get these low voltage codes, first thing you want to do is check the battery, because if the battery's weak, that's what's tripping those codes. There's nothing wrong with the car, it just means it needs a battery. Back and we'll erase those codes. There they go, it's erasing them. Now they're gone. So, now we'll start her up. You can see it still starts the car. Now in the olden days, you got a bad battery, the car would generally run okay. It wouldn't do anything weird, but eventually it would go not start, meaning you need a new battery. Today's systems are much more complex. Even though they crank your car okay and start, it can still be weak and cause problems in the car. So when you test it like this, especially today, it's a cold day, it's 35 degrees outside, shows the battery's bad, probably a good idea to change it sooner than later. So let's look at some live data here. As usual, black is good, red's bad. We're gonna go through and look at the data. We'll put it in drive. You get better data when the car's in drive generally. The map sensor's good. Let's look at some interesting data here. Battery voltage 13.8, that's good, it's running. Now you can see the air fuel ratio in the target 0.999. It's pretty close to 0.99. It was there for a second. Sometimes it's off a couple thousandths of a bit, so yeah, things still running pretty good. Now before I forget, she said sometimes it feels a little odd shifting. Hey, this thing's got almost 140,000 miles on it. You'll get a little glitch in the shifting here and there. Now the transmission itself is a 6-speed automatic. Most people put it in drive, but if you want, you can shift it yourself and you can go down or up with that. Doesn't have paddle shifters, but most people just put it in drive and leave it there. Pretty reliable. Now when they first came out, some people thought, oh, they feel a little bit weird. Now, of course, a 4-speed is a little bit smoother shifting, little bit more stable. The more gears you get, they get a little wonky. Like some of the people don't even like the 8 speeds because they say, they're kind of wonky. But the 6 speeds proved to be pretty reliable. I've never seen one of these things actually break down. My grandson's, he beats the heck out of it and it still shifts perfectly fine. Back to looking at some more data. Everything's looking good. Here we got transmission data. You can see it's all black. That's good. It didn't have any codes for the transmission, but as they age, like I say, sometimes you get a little bit of slight wonkiness when it shifts second to third or third to fourth, or downshifts fourth to third or third to second. I mean, that's just something that happens. Cylinder 1, that's pretty cool. Old car, still gives you a lot of information. Variable valve timer system's all working fine. It's a typical Toyota. Misfire counts for all 4 cylinders, 0 across the boards. No problem. So let's take it for a spin. Oh, no backup camera. It's an old car. Gotta look ourselves, but hey, we have eyes, right? Noticed, hey, it might have a lot of miles on it. Idle's like a dream. No shakes. Here we go. First to second, smooth as can be. Second to third, smooth as can be. Still shifts pretty good now. Still handles quite well. Got the original struts and everything on it. This thing could last an awful long time. If you do hear any noise, it's a diesel in front of us reverberating. That's not this thing. Brakes still work perfectly smooth. Don't make any noise. The only thing that makes noise is the steering wheel. They all do that. You hear the little ee every once in a while. That's just what these things do. Something about when it's cold, the plastic expands, contracts, and then it creaks low when you turn the wheel. That's normal. Gotta look both ways. Nobody's coming, so here we go. No problem climbing. Hey, it's shifting fine now. I haven't felt anything weird, but we'll take it to the little drag strip here. Look behind us. Nobody's going to rear end us. There's nobody there. We'll stop right here. Then we will step on the gas. Whoa! It started to burn out and then the traction control kicked in. So that proves that little light that said ABS traction control problem was just low voltage problem from a weak battery. It's still working fine because it was getting ready to peel out in the ABS system and the traction control system clicked right in and it stopped doing it. Now we're doing 40. You want to pass somebody, floor it. You can see it picks up nicely. These 4-cylinder engines got plenty enough horsepower. You really don't need a V6. This one's still got plenty of power with a 4-cylinder, 140,000 miles, doesn't burn oil, tranny still shifts good. Hey, you can't beat it. Plus, she lives in Florida, so she bought it in Florida. It was a Florida car, so phenomenal. It has no rust. It's a Florida car. I know a lot of guys on the East Coast, they buy Florida cars themselves, or they have friends that go down to Florida, buy cars, ship them up to Rhode Island, Massachusetts, wherever, and then resell them because people want a non-rusted car. This one came from Florida, it lives in Florida, so it doesn't have any of those problems. As it stands today, at least in this test, I don't even feel any clunking going up or down in any of the gears. That's a cold day, so that tranny's still in pretty good shape. All around here, hey, it's got a decent turning radius, but somebody's coming, so we'll wait. But you see, we don't have to back up or anything. It's not going to go in the ditch over there. It's got a nice turning radius. These Camrys are pretty well designed all-around cars. Dinosaur, it's got a CD player and a radio, but I mean, you can pull that stuff out, put in an Android thing for 150 bucks and update it very easily. They made so many Camrys. There's aftermarket stuff that just pops right out, and new stuff pops right in. Very easy to change them out. Can't really. We'll take this faster than we're supposed to, but look, cars don't even squeal. This thing still handles like a dream for what it is. It's not a race car, but it wasn't meant to be. A Camry, they don't brake very often. They got timing chains. You don't have to worry about timing belts. Just change the oil every 5,000 miles and pretty much go. If you can find one of these, generally the 2011 and newer don't have that problem. Previous to 2007, they didn't really have that problem either, so you don't have to worry about that. But you want dependable transportation, you can't beat the boring Camry. People always say, oh, those cars are so boring. Well, I personally find cars boring if they break all the time and you got to put a lot of money, which you don't have to do on these things. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.